How is it possible that with inflation at 40-year highs, that day in and day out, this stuff is getting crushed? Stay tuned, because we're going to crush the most damaging narrative about silver and gold together. Well, hopefully people are starting to figure out that the narratives surrounding silver and gold and inflation, that is the narrative that gold and silver are somehow this magical guaranteed hedge against inflation. I hope that the last 2 weeks have served as a great reminder that narratives are bad for stacking. They are very bad for stacking. In fact, if you were to believe the narratives before the last 2 weeks, and maybe before, let's say, 2020, you might be really discouraged by what's been going on out there. In fact, gold and silver are getting shellacked right now. Shellacked. But everything is getting shellacked, right? I mean, the stock market, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, the Bitcoin, everything is getting crushed out there. Everything, it's like the Hulk walked into Wall Street and just said, Hulk smash, and just destroyed everything. But, that's scary. And if you have been believing the narratives about gold and silver and them being a hedge against inflation, you're probably feeling pretty discouraged, because this, inflation is at a 40-year high. How can it not be a hedge against inflation? Well, if you've been paying attention, you have seen that silver today went down to like 21.38, and I believe gold went down to about 1840, or maybe even under 1840. So they're just getting crushed. They're just getting crushed. And how can that be? When inflation is at an all-time high, how is it, or at a 40-year high, how is it that gold and silver cannot be shining in this moment? How can that be? Well, very simple. It's because the hedge against inflation narrative is not true. It's not true. Gold and silver, if they were a hedge against inflation, they should be approaching their all-time highs. But it's not so much that it's not true, it's that you still need to understand the connectedness in the markets before you get, people tend to put gold and silver on a pedestal as if it's not related to anything else. And I mean, just think of that logically. I mean, we talk about it being a hedge against inflation, so surely we would think that gold and silver are somehow connected to the dollar, right? I mean, logically speaking, if we're talking about inflation is, more dollars chasing less goods. So therefore, gold and silver must be connected to the dollar. Well, I don't know if you follow the guy whose mat I'm using here, Silver Seeker. He has one of the better YouTube channels out there in terms of, large YouTube followings for stackers. And he was calling people around he was calling coin shops, asking them why. And I'm going to link that video in the description, but he was asking why, with inflation at an all-time high, why is gold and silver not going to the moon as we were promised, by the fools who thought up the silver squeeze. And, the reality is that no one really knew but one. When he called around, what you learn about coin shop dealers is that when the narrative spits in their face, as it often does with stacking, they have no answer. But one did. And I wish I knew what the coin shop was, because I would buy with that guy because he knows what he's doing. He made a great statement. He said, because the dollar is the strongest horse in the glue factory. I think he said the strongest or the fastest. It doesn't really matter, but he recognized that there's strength in the dollar relative to the rest of the foreign exchange markets, all the rest of the fiat currencies in the world. The dollar is still the belle of the ball, even though, it's a ball of pigs, as it were. So, therefore, as long as the dollar is strong relative to the rest of the world currencies, there's no reason that silver and gold should increase, because it's still strong, in spite of the inflation numbers. So what do we do? What do we do with this stuff? Why, and by the way, that's not the only reason. Here's what I'll add to this, is that what you have to understand, when there is blood on the streets, when when Wall Street is just getting annihilated, as it has in the last week, people are going to run to dump their liquidity positions. And their liquidity positions are silver and gold ETFs. So the paper derivative markets, you can whine about manipulation as if there's any evidence of that. And yes, there is some, but if it's manipulated, why are you playing in it? Why are you playing a battle? Why are you fighting a battle you can't win? Right? So, think about the nonsensical argument that, it's manipulated, but I'm going to keep buying. I'll show those guys. I'm going to play right into their strong hands. No. The manipulation, to the degree that people would like to think it is, it's mythology. It's Zeus. It's Hercules. It's, I don't know. But here's the facts, is that big hedge funds and huge Wall Street trading firms, they all have liquidity positions in silver and gold ETFs. And so when they're getting slaughtered, where do they have to run? They have to run to their liquidity. They have to run and sell and dump their gold and silver onto the market. And so what does that do? It drives the pricing down. So you have to understand the interconnectedness of markets. And so I'm just going to, and by the way, I don't know if anyone's paying attention to mining stocks, but to all of the fools who are pumping mining stocks, I hope you will stop listening to them. Mining stocks have nothing to do with gold and silver. The majors and the miners all got slaughtered, So, yeah. Mining has nothing to do with stacking. So, in fact, there's some mining stocks that are down as much as like 15% in the last 2 weeks. Well, why is that? It's gold, it's silver, it's a hedge against inflation. I don't know. Come on. Will you just read? Stop taking the advice of people who are being paid and sponsored to just say whatever they're paid to say. They don't care about you. Do you understand? These large stacking channels, these shills and pumpers, they don't care about you. And just because they have 100,000 subscribers or 140,000 subscribers doesn't mean when they try to get you to buy fool's gold like this, doesn't mean you should listen to them. This is the stupidest way to stack gold, by the way. Subscribe for upcoming videos about that. But look, I'm a little animated today. And I'm a guy who puts my money where my mouth is. I am not buying bullion right now because of premiums, because gold and silver pricing. In fact, I have a long-term plan of stacking numismatics. I know exactly what I'm going to be stacking here, and I'm going to make videos about all of it. I have stuff coming in the mail, and I'm going to share it with you when it gets here. So I just want you guys to please, I'm begging you, stop listening and taking on blind faith what it is that people on YouTube tell you, myself included. Go to the internet. There's a lot of articles out there. There's a lot of books, and just start to study markets. You have to understand the way the totality of markets interact with one another and interrelate so that you can win. So that when these dips come, which, look, I said at the beginning of the year, I think that gold can go as low as $16.50. I said that before there was a war in Ukraine that drove the pricing up. And I haven't backed off of that because I think it's still possible. In spite of what's going on in Ukraine, I think it's still possible. I could eat my words on that, but so could the people who said, oh, silver's going to be $50 by the end of 2022 and gold is going to be $2,500. Those people are going to eat their words too. Possibly. They could be right. Broken clock is right twice a day, right? So none of us are perfect here, but I just urge everybody, for whatever reason you're stacking, just think through, why is somebody telling you what they're telling you? What are they trying to get you to believe, and why? Do they really have your best interests in mind? Because I got to tell you, there's a lot of people who got into this silver squeeze nonsense and just got absolutely slaughtered. They got annihilated. And I don't know what's going to happen to those people. I mean, I got a feeling that there's going to be a lot of silver going into the market and a lot of gold going into the open market from people who got into it, got slaughtered, got frustrated, and gave up because nobody told them to play the long game. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not a 5K. It's not a 10K. It's not a half marathon. It is it's an ultra marathon. So, but whatever you're buying, buy what you like because you may be stuck with it. Well, silver and gold have never gone to zero. Well, yeah, neither did oil until about a year and a half ago. So never say never, guys. Never say never. So anyhow, if you stuck around this long, I hope that if you're not subscribed, today is the day that I earn your subscription. And please hit the like button, and I'll see you guys on the next one.